I don't know. I've paid for two cruises that I don't really want to go on now, but I'm going to lose all my money if I don't go, which seems a bit ridiculous. I don't know what to do. I'm Carrie, and apparently retirement hasn't stopped me making questionable decisions. So how did I end up here? It seemed like such a good idea to book these cruises, you know. They came up, and when cruises are such a good deal, they go within a matter of a couple of hours. So if you see one and you think you might want it, you just have to book it. You worry about your flights and any pre-cruise accommodation or afterwards later. You can't do it there and then because otherwise you'd never get a great cruise deal because they'd be gone. So anyway, so I did that, and so I saw it and I booked it. It was to Asia. I haven't been for many years, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to book it. It sounds fantastic, so I booked it. But then ever since I booked, and it was really cheap. It was like about $40 a night for me on my own in my own cabin. Admittedly, it was an inside, which isn't my favourite, but you know what? For that kind of price, I'm going to do it. So I booked it, and you know, like I say, I hadn't been to Asia for years. I haven't been on this ship before. Oh, I have actually. I've been on this ship once before. It's a Norwegian Jade, and it's going from Vancouver to Tokyo, and with lots of sea days. And I love sea days. It was also going to Alaska, so I love Alaska. It wasn't really, it was only going to one port in Japan, but that's okay because I was going to Tokyo. And although I've been to Tokyo before, I've got 11 days before the second cruise, which is from Seoul in South Korea to back to Tokyo, and then I'll do loads of Japan. So I haven't done Japan at all other than Tokyo, and that is going to be really good. So I thought, let's just do it. Let's book it. But then there's been, you know, I've been busy. I've been busy since. I've been spending time with my mum. So I've booked them, and with that kind of price, you book them and you pay for them straight away, which is what I did. And so I'm now in a place where, you know, I'm a few weeks off. I'm having to think about, okay, I best get a flight to Vancouver. Right now I'm in England, and I'm thinking, do I go back to Florida before I go to Vancouver, or am I going to fly from here? And it's just too many decisions. There's too many decisions whilst I was at my mum's. I just couldn't think straight. So anyway, I've come back up to Cumbria now, and I'm here on my own. You can probably see the sea behind me, so it's just peaceful and calm here, and I've got a bit of time to think. So I'm now thinking about it, and I've got to decide what I'm going to do. So, and a big, you know, big consideration is that I'll lose the money, and also vouchers. I used some vouchers that I had for these cruises, and I'll lose the vouchers as well. So, what to do? How much have I committed? Probably about, well, two vouchers which were worth $500 together, and then an additional, not much to be fair, about an additional $400, which I know is amazing for cruises like that. So it's probably not so much what I'll lose. I mean, it's still $900, which is a lot, but it's more, you know, I'm going to give up the opportunity for these cruises, and is that a sensible thing to do? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I will obviously have to spend a lot of money if I go, because so I'd have a flight, I'd have to get, so I'm in England, I've got to get to Vancouver. So I can either fly from London. That looks like it's going to cost me about $600 for a flight. I tend to work in dollars because everything's cheaper in America. So I tend to book there. So it'd be about $600 to Vancouver. There'd be my train fare down to London. Depending on the time of the flight, I might have to stay overnight the night before the flight, which would be about another, I don't know, £120 or something. And then if I go to Florida, then there's a flight that I'd have to rent a car when I get there and then drive to my house in Florida. And then I would have to fly from Florida to Vancouver, which is another thing, and then I might have to stay overnight there. And so if I do it, it's probably going to be easier to just fly from London. Then I don't have to worry about all that other stuff. But then the other consideration is most of the clothes I would want to take with me are in Florida. So have I got enough here to last me the time in Tokyo, or on the cruises anyway, which is probably going to be about 5 or 6 weeks. So and like I said, just too much to think about whilst I was at my mum's. So I can kind of start to get a bit of clarity now, which is why I'm working it through. And I've reached decisions before when I've been talking to you on camera. And so I'm kind of thinking that's what I should do here. So, but then I have to think, well, is it about the money? Because it is going to cost me a lot more to go, obviously. Or is it about something else? And I think the something else is I've just got so much complication in my life and I need to simplify it. I've got a house here in England, in Cumbria, that needs finishing. So I can rent it out when I'm not here. And then I've got my house in Florida, which I need to sell, but the market's not good there. So I have to make that decision. And then I've got my mum with things going on with her. And yeah, I just have to really simplify my life. And I feel as though going on cruises is a bit like running away. And probably that's why I just booked them without really giving it too much thought, just spontaneously thinking, let's do it. This is fantastic. But it's, I wonder if, am I just running away for 6 weeks, which maybe I kind of am. That's kind of what I'm thinking, what I'm going through. What would I do if I didn't take the cruises? That's a good one. I don't think I'd be here actually in Cumbria. I think I would have gone to Florida already, and I would have got my house. There's not a lot to do, but I just need to get the landscaping sorted, and I probably would do that, and then get some realtors round and get some valuations and get it on the market. But then another complication there is Governor DeSantis has just announced that he's looking at doing a referendum on property taxes. So he's going to put the vote to the Floridians on whether they want to abolish property taxes. Now, where the taxes go, which is to pay for the local community things, it's kind of like a council tax in the UK. That money's got to come from somewhere, so I'm not sure what that looks like yet. However, I personally think the vote will go the way of abolishing the property taxes. I do think that that's what will happen. And then will that encourage other Americans to move to Florida? Because property taxes in other parts of the country are much more expensive typically than Florida. So, I mean, if people could move to Florida and not have any property taxes, I personally think that would be a real incentive for people to move. Well, of course, if like COVID, everybody moved to Florida because that was the most free state. But now it's all over. They've kind of all moved back. So the housing market's a bit, it's not quite depressed, but it's certainly not as buoyant as it was, and it's a bit flat. And the prices have come down. So will abolishing the property taxes encourage people to come back again? And it very well may do, in which case my house could go up quite a lot in value. So do I want to sell it now or do I want to hang on? But of course, there are costs that come with hanging on. So I've just got all that kind of stuff going through my head. And then it just felt like running away on a cruise for, like I say, 5 or 6 weeks might not be such a bad idea. And that leads me to a question that I think we perhaps all have sometimes. Do we make decisions and do we go through with them because we kind of feel like we should? We've made the decision, we've taken the few steps to get there, and so we just go ahead with it. I don't know. I don't know if I do that or not. I mean, I am one for cutting my losses, not all the time, but I have done a few times in my life. And is that something we all do? Do we all make these decisions and then later on think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that? And then do we go through with it anyway? Or do we say, you know what? I know I made that decision and I know I took those next steps, but I've decided I'm not doing it. So forget it. I don't know. I think it's a good question to ask ourselves. And then I also think if the cruises were refundable, would I cancel them today? And honestly, I think the answer is yes, which tells me a lot. So that means, am I not cancelling them to save $900, or rather, well, yeah, no, I wouldn't even save it, would I? Because the money's spent. So am I not cancelling them because I don't want to lose out on that money, or is it the cruises? So that's kind of another consideration. And what is the answer? I do think I would cancel them if I hadn't paid for them, if I'm honest. So, but then is that because I'm one of those people that I do change my mind? I change my mind a lot, and I'm not the best at committing to things. well in advance, because often I change my mind by the time they come. And is that what I'm doing here? So I'm not sure about that one. I have made many spontaneous decisions in my life. I don't think I even have any rhyme or reason as to why I change my mind and cancel things. I mean, as an example, my house in Florida, I'd made a decision that I probably was going to lose money on it if I sold it now, but I just needed to simplify my life. So let's just cut my losses and sell it. But then, of course, something in the news made me rethink that. So now I'm rethinking it. So I don't think I have any kind of a method for whether I change my mind or not. I think it ends up being another spontaneous decision to change my mind. So I made a spontaneous decision to book the cruises. I'm now thinking about, should I make a spontaneous decision to cancel the cruises? And honestly, I just create this complexity for myself in my life. And thinking about it, I should take more time to make decisions and then stick with it. And I think that's the key. And if that's a learning I have from here, and it's a shame I didn't learn it before now, but I think that's it. So whatever I decide to do with these cruises, that has to be a lesson I take away from here. Stop making spontaneous decisions. Take more time to make them. And then when you've made them, commit to them. Wow. That would be quite revolutionary for me. I don't ever consider changing my mind a failure. Do you? I don't feel that I have to be committed to a decision I made, because I think sometimes we're presented with new information. So when I booked the cruises, well, I don't think there's been any new information since then, to be fair. I don't think there has actually. But if we are presented with new information after we've made a decision, I personally think it's okay to change my mind. Do you? Do you ever do this? Do you ever make these decisions and then afterwards think, oh, I wish I hadn't? And if you do you go through with it, or do you change your mind? I'm now starting to think about what's the worst consequence of not going and what's the worst consequence of going. So, the worst consequence of not going is going to be that I suppose I miss out on a fantastic opportunity that could actually be life changing, because we never know, do we, what an experience is going to bring us. I mean, I don't know who I might meet on the on the train to London, on the flight to Vancouver, in the airport in Calgary when we have a layover for 2 hours, in Vancouver because I'll be there for 2 nights, on the cruise, the 11 nights I'm in Asia doing whatever I decide to do because I haven't decided yet. Or on the second cruise, which is Seoul to Tokyo. So I suppose the worst consequence of not going is all of those opportunities that might come along. Now, they might not do. I might not meet a soul who, of interest or anything, but I might. And I think that now I think it through, I think that's the worst consequence. And it's definitely something to bear in mind. So, and also I should look at what would be the worst consequence of going. There's obviously the hassle of all the organising, like I said, but I can do that. It's not the end of the world. It's spending the money on the accommodation in between the two cruises and the travel, etc. I've got that money, so that's not a bad consequence. So the worst consequence of going is probably deferring the decisions on my house in Florida and on my house here, and probably not getting anything done here. But honestly, I've not been to Florida for ages and I kind of do want to go. So I do think even if I don't go on the cruises, I will go back to Florida. So I'm not going to get anything done on this house anyway. And Florida's a nice, comfortable, it's, like I said, pretty much done. I've decided I'm not selling it right now until this referendum in November. So it will just be a nice couple of months break in Florida. And so I suppose the worst consequence of going is that I'll miss out on that, but I will have lots of learning and growth. So it's just everything's bloody. There's always polar, there's two ends of this. There's a spectrum, isn't there? And every choice and decision is on that spectrum. And yeah, you just have to decide, don't you? You just have to decide in the moment, really, which is best. I'm not good at weighing up all these different things, but I kind of feel like the more I'm talking about this, the more I don't want to miss out on those opportunities that I would miss. Because going to Florida, I mean, I still might miss some. I could go out for dinner one night and bump into somebody who I wouldn't have missed, or as an experience, a friend might say, "Oh, come and do this with us," and that won't happen. But it does feel as though the bigger opportunities are in the cruising and travel, which is why I like to do that so much. So I guess talking this through really has helped me make a decision. And I think I've decided, I shouldn't say I think, should I? Because if I've decided, it's not a thought, it's a decision. I've decided I'm going to go on the cruises. I'm going to take those opportunities and I'm going to go on. I'm going to take those experiences that come with it. So wow, that's been really fantastic talking this through with you on here, because I was in so much turmoil, which I know sounds ridiculous, deciding whether I should or shouldn't, or thinking it through and considering every aspect. And just talking it through like that, and especially the consequences of going and the consequences of not going, that's what finally did it for me. So yeah, so I'm going to come off this camera, I'm going to stop recording now, and I'm going to go and book a flight, because then I'm more committed. And I saw one this morning, and there is one to Vancouver from London, and I'm just going to go and book it. It's in my price range, so why not? So thanks for being with me. And even though you didn't do anything, just by being there helped me work through this and reach a decision that I think I'm going to be comfortable with all the way through. But I guess time will tell. Anyway, I'm Carrie, and thanks for being here as I retire with gusto.